very good evening. Leading our news tonight, the UNGA ban for exports overseas is still in force, with Niue Biosecurity Authority putting in place strict measures. A statement from the Biosecurity Authority has urged the public to please adhere to this arrangement and to avoid further disappointment to those people who are trying to smuggle UNGA overseas. It says due to the breach of this matter recently at Auckland Airport, where New Zealand officials had intercepted some UNGA, this has tarnished the image of the policymakers pertaining to this matter and border control enforcement agencies of the Niue government. Therefore, from tomorrow, Friday 29th March onwards, all bags and bins of food, cooked or uncooked, will be inspected first by the Niue Biosecurity Authority before check-in at the departure gate. Other measures like using the X-ray machines will also be utilized. Biosecurity Authority says this is to ensure that no UNGA will leave our shores, as in accordance with the current UNGA regulation in place. The Taonga Niue Arts and Culture Festival will be focusing on sustainability. The festival will not only promote culture and its preservation, but also the environment and climate change. A hive of activities will take place starting from April 19th. The commercial center will be the hub of where everything is happening. Villagers will also be involved in the events.
One of the new activities that we're excited about, and we're linking it up to climate change to minimise your carbon footprints on this earth. So that's the Tō Ulu, and that's been it's going to start at Alofi South at Liluki Park. And basically it's investing in planting a tree. And so it's going to cost $20 per tree that you want to plant. $10 will go to the actual village, which is Alofi South, and $10 will go towards the next festival. So we're trying to put events into place that it's not only for like this festival, but it also lays a foundation for a sustainable festival, and also to help with the next festival. The other event that's going out to some of the villages is there's the traditional umo that's going to be hosted by the village of Tuapa. And there's probably about 2 or 3 events that's going to be up there. There's the open mic night. That will be in the evening on the Tuesday of the festival. And one of our eastern villages is the village of Liku. So they're doing... We've got quite a prominent, world-renowned artist, John Pule, and so he's doing his art exhibition out there. But there's also the Hikulangi Sculpture Park, so they're doing a competition in memory of Charles Jessup, who sadly passed away a number of years back. So that is going to be hosted by Tahiano Arts.
Locals are being encouraged to support and participate in the festival.
A lot of people are saying in the community, oh, what can we do as a community? How can we sort of participate? What I'm saying is the actual Taonga Festival doesn't belong to an individual organisation or group or the government. It actually belongs to the people of Niue. So there are activities there that's been running for the last 10 years that you can participate in. There's the... one of the new ones this year that we'd like to introduce is the Takalo and the Tāme event, and that's going to be held at the Taonga Auditorium. That's a really good event. The other one is the Lalonga Tuai, that's going to be held up at the Multi-Purpose Hall at the Niue High School. And there's a range. I mean, there's the Niue Council of Women that's participating. They've got their own little program. There's the Talatale, which is the men's craft. They've got their activity at the Aliutu Hall. We're also encouraging the younger generation, so the Niue Primary School, the Niue High School, to participate.
The Taonga Niue Arts and Culture Festival closes on Thursday, April 25th. Tuapa took out the 2019 Cricket Championship with Liku as runners-up. Vaya came in third with Alofi in fourth place. The final was held at Hakupu over the weekend, with locals turning up in numbers to support their respective teams. Tuapa is the winner from Pool B, while Liku is the winner from Pool A. Liku batted first to a score of 343 points. Tuapa then chased the score and got 356 points. The match between Vaya and Alofi was played at Liku for the third and fourth place, with Vaya winning the match. A new program to continuously upskill doctors and nurses on the island will be implemented this year. The training at the Niue Fo'u Hospital is being supported by Otago University, Counties Manukau Health and Middlemore Hospital.
To give you a scope of a typical general practitioner, this is what differentiates Niue, making it rather unusual and unique. Elizabeth Powell from Counties Manukau Health highlighted the unique scope of practice for Niue's doctors, far beyond the normal scope a general practitioner would ordinarily deliver overseas, or at least in New Zealand, she found.
The patients in Niue see the Niue Fo'u Hospital as the centre of all health services here. So they come into the hospital here for all their general practice or primary health care needs, which in New Zealand, for example, we would just go and see our GP if we've got coughs and colds and stuff. And so they just come here because this is where it's all delivered. And so the doctors here need to be able to cover off anything and treat anything from a sore throat right up to, like I said, going in and taking a baby out through a caesarean section. Now that is pretty unique and what we call extended general practice. And so the doctors here need to be recognised that their skill levels and therefore their scope of practice, which means that what they are able to do within their practice here, every doctor who comes here needs to be able to do these certain things within the scope of practice in Niue. Because if they come to Niue and they can't do, cut open an abscess on the leg or something, then the Niue people would suffer or somebody else would have to come in and do it, or they would have to send them to New Zealand at a cost. And so doing and providing health here in Niue at this level is really quite unique.
Powell joins Dr. Katie Blattner from Otago University to assist health professionals here insert an educational training regime as a fundamental shift to ensure our healthcare professionals here in Niue are supported by such training mechanism in the environment they're working in.
To make sure that the doctors remain competent and they upskill and they remain competent to practice over time. And so that ensures that this level of service that's delivered in Niue is a good one.
The benefits of having it here, as mentioned by Director General Social Services, Gayleen Tasmania, is taking a holistic approach and mitigating the loss also of healthcare professionals having to leave the island to obtain similar or equivalent training.
Niue's Civil Aviation Act of 20 years will be renewed, incorporating new concepts that are currently not captured in any other aviation act, Niue's culture and environment. The Act will cover the space of 60,000 feet above the island, extended out to the 200 nautical miles covering Niue's exclusive economic zone.
Niue's Civil Aviation Regulator Bill McGregor informs the Act will be highly modified and streamlined to suit Niue. McGregor added that the discussions over the last 3 days with primary stakeholders included drones, highlighting their obvious increase of use and nuisance, but that aside, they recognized the benefits derived, such as that of assistance to rescue operations, as with surveillance such as EEZ patrolling.
And this week we are doing a review of the Niue Civil Aviation Act, and it was dated 1999, so a 20-year point, time to review it. And also in that Act, we adopted the New Zealand rule system for looking after, for regulating aviation. And so this time we're going to build the Act around the use of the New Zealand rules, but then we're also going to review the New Zealand rules, and we'll only adopt those that are applicable to Niue, and anything that needs modification so that it is specifically about Niue, then we'll be doing that. And we're picking up new concepts as well within this. We're looking very much at the drones that people bring into the country and how we can regulate them, and also things like using drones for EEZ patrolling and that sort of thing. So it's new legislation that will be that every country in the world is struggling with, so we're trying to get ahead of the game so that Niue will be leading in that area.
McGregor was able to give a backdrop of Niue's aviation space, quoting Niue actually being in a good space, indicating also some of the upcoming projects for Niue's aviation sector.
Niue has got one of the better setups here. We've got a very good airport that's fully fenced and compliant with international standards. Our crash fire services are as good as, if not better than, most other parts of the Pacific. So we're in a very good space, and it's just that slow development as we move forward. We've got several projects being organised through, or we're talking with MFAT in New Zealand over resurfacing of the runway. Now, if you go and just walk on the runway, you think, well, this is magnificent. It's nice and flat and clean and that, but it's been sitting out in the hot Pacific sun for the last 30 odd years, and the top layer is going brittle. So the idea is that we'll skim that top layer off, and we'll resurface it, and that'll give us another 30 to 40 years of a really good runway.
Imagine a third weekly flight into Niue. If it was possible, what would be the implications? This was the focus of a survey carried out in Niue by a tourism planning company which has been closely working with Niue's tourism. Alistair Henchman is a consultant from the Tourism Recreation Conservation and has worked with Niue Tourism for a number of years, assisting with strategic planning. A survey was recently carried out with a question: what would be the implications of a third weekly flight into Niue?
There's a number of issues, a number of implications, I suppose, from a third flight. One is that instead of 2 plane days a week, you'll have 3 plane days, and they're busy days on the island, and they're changeover days for the accommodation premises. So that's a big commitment for people to put that energy into changing over for new customers. Another one of the implications is that rather than back in the days when there was just 1 flight a week, customers all had to stay at least 7 days or 14 days. Now that we've got 2 flights a week, people can visit the island for just 3 days or 5 days or 7 days. There's a whole range of options for them, and that increases the complexity and costs for business operators. And moving to a third flight, that would further increase the number of options for people staying. Some operators express concern that if that were to occur, then they might miss out on longer bookings because they've committed to a 3-day booking, and they might miss out on a 7-day booking, something like that, that's somebody's trying to do later. So one of the other issues is that already in Niue there's a big difference between the peak season over July, August, when the island's pretty well full, and the low seasons, particularly the shoulder seasons. And with a third flight having increased capacity, there's a possibility that difference between the low season and the peak season, which is about 50%, so there's twice as many people here in high season as low season, could further increase. So flights might be full during the peak season, but then there's a big difference, and that makes implications for people in terms of investing in their business, investing in new beds and accommodation, investing in rental cars, all that sort of thing, because if you're not utilising those investments throughout the whole year, then it's much more difficult to make that investment decision.
The survey found that one of the challenges facing the hospitality industry is labour supply.
There's a shortage of labour, and there's a shortage of specialised skilled labour. And already people are having to import labour from other countries around the Pacific and in Southeast Asia, and an increase in, and that's an issue that needs to be addressed so that tourism in Niue can continue to grow. There's a number of challenges in building skills of local people, or encouraging expat Niueans back to work and invest in the country.
After several issues were raised through the survey, it concluded that a third flight into Niue is not feasible.
Our recommendation out of that analysis was that we recommended that a third flight is not appropriate at this time, and that there are other options to consider, including moving to a larger plane for one or both of the 2 weekly flights, and that could incrementally increase the number of people without the big impact and the risk of establishing a third flight. And that a number of those other matters needed to be addressed in terms of the seasonality, trying to encourage more people to come in the shoulder seasons, that type of thing, addressing those labour market issues I mentioned.
That's all we have for you tonight. Thank you for joining us. Good night.